Hi, my name's Reese. Last video I made was about how to improvise on bass guitar so that you can play along with any song, but I wanted to make a separate video about how to identify the root notes and use your ear to play along. So that's where we are today. Right, here's what you need to know right away. There's 3 ways we can do this. We can look, we can listen, or we can ask. I'm going to assume that if you want to learn how to do this, you don't just have a band member or a song you can Google, if that makes sense. So you can't ask and find out that way. That should always be a last result anyway, because you don't want to be the guy in the band practice who's like, oh hey guys, can you just tell me what chords you're playing? So let's try avoid that and leave that to last, alright? So let's start with step number 1, which is looking. Right, so I've got my guitar here and we're going to look at identifying a few notes. So the first thing you need to do is you need to learn the notes on the E string and the A string of the guitar or bass, okay? So that's on the E string, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, etc. all the way up. And then the A string, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, okay? So that's just the first 5 on both strings, but you need to learn it all the way up to 12. You don't need to learn it past 12 because it just repeats at 12. Then what you need to do is you need to look at where the guitarist's pointer finger stops at any given chord, okay? So let's say the chord looks like this. Where does my pointer finger stop? Stops on the 3rd fret of the E string. You see that? It goes all the way across, stops on 3rd fret of the E string. That means the root note is G. So as a bass player, you can go there and you can play that G. What about if it stops here? A bit harder, right? This is the 5th fret of the A string. Now, it can be quite hard to tell visually where somebody's finger ends. Does it end on the E string or does it end on the A string? I mean, it's quite a small shift if you look at compared to... The only tip I can give you for this is that generally when a guitarist is playing on the E string, their finger will exceed the end of the fretboard a little bit. I've got this kind of dark stripe on my top right now, which should make it easy for you to see. So when I'm on the E string, you can see how my finger is kind of sticking over the end of the fretboard. When I'm on the A string, that was a terrible chord at the end there, but you see what I'm saying, right? It doesn't go over the end of the fretboard, so that's how I like to do it. Now this tells you the root note, okay? So from that progression I just played, you've got C, D, E, D, C, okay? But that doesn't really tell you what chord's being played. Now, this is much harder, okay? Now, if this tells you the root note, this is going to tell you what type of chord it is. The easiest way to learn this is to just be a bass player who plays a little bit of guitar. I'm going to level with you. There's quite a lot of combinations that these 3 fingers can make to be all kinds of different chords. Again, not a very good guitarist, but just on the C, I can do major, like this, with a bar, minor, major 7, minor 7, dominant 7. That's all the ones I know, I'm going to be brutally honest. So you can see how that's quite a small thing to pay attention to. We'll go on to how to identify the chords in a bit more detail in the listening section, okay? You're probably watching this video now and thinking, oh, what about if it's an open chord? How do I identify those? Well, I mean, the same thing's technically true. You can see what is the first note being played if the guitar was being strummed like that. So for E minor, you can see that it's an open E string. For C, you can see that it's A3, which is C as a root note. A minor is the open A string. But the truth is that for this, it's way more difficult. You're basically going to have a guitar yourself and know what these positions are. Okay, I was scared that chord wouldn't work then. Okay, just to see if you've been following along with what we talked about, I'm going to test you on a few chord shapes. Here's number 1. So looking, where does my finger finish? It finishes on the E string, 3rd fret, so this is some type of G chord. And if you recognise the other 3 fingers, you'll know that this is a G major. Oh, sorry. There. That's my next chord. Can you guess what this one is? So it looks very similar to the G major, but you'll notice that my pointer finger is not on the E string anymore, which means it must be a C, and a C what? It's a C minor. Good job if you got that. Okay, finally I'm going to test you on something a bit different. Okay, I'm going to leave this one completely up to you. Okay, so it's E minor, and then because I've got one of the fingers missing, it's E minor 7, okay? Again, don't expect you to know that one necessarily, but just kind of part of testing you. So now we're going to get on to some ear training, but a concept I need you to know before we start is that the closer 2 notes are together, the worse they're going to sound when played together. So for example, if I play a 5th, that sounds pretty good together, right? Because a 5th and a root note are halfway between the root note and the octave. So if the root note's here, the 5th is here, the octave is here. So if I play a root note and a 2nd together, Sounds a bit muddy, it doesn't sound very good. If I play a root note and a seventh, same thing. We can use this because if we play something and it sounds absolutely terrible, then it means that we're quite close to the correct note. So in order for me to best explain this, I'm going to play you the song that we're going to be working out together today. Here it is. So now we've heard the song, we can start trying to work it out together. The most important thing to work out is that first note and whether or not it's major or minor. Let's give that a try now. Okay, that was me reenacting my process when working out a song. Effectively what I do is I take about 3 guesses. The first guess is always going to be completely random unless you have perfect pitch, in which case you probably shouldn't be watching this video. The second guess is going to be up or down, and then the third guess is hopefully going to be the right note. So my first guess, just guessing, was C sharp, alright? It was too high. If you listen to the note that I'm trying to match, when I play C sharp, it's too high. So I think, okay, my guess is too high, I need to go lower. And I like my second guess to be a bit of an over-exaggeration, so that I'm likely past the correct note, and then I can work my way to it, if that makes sense. One guess too high, one guess too low, which means your third guess, you've got the range, it's probably going to be right. So after that I played F. That still sounded too low. Not only did it sound low, it sounded disgusting. It sounded like ass, which means I'm really close to the F sharp, which is the correct note. So then I've got my first note. Now, using that concept of the closer you are to the correct note, the worse it's going to sound, we can start to work out if that F sharp is major or minor. So I'm going to play this piece again, and I'm going to play a major third and a minor third, and you're going to tell me which one sounds better in the context of the piece. Which one sounded better? Now hopefully you said that the major third sounded bad. The major third just was completely off. That note is not in F sharp minor, so when I played it in a song which is in F sharp minor, it sounded bad. It was that was A sharp. The correct note there was A. So even without the backing track it still sounds quite bad, right? So now I've got F sharp minor. That's the first chord the guitarist is playing in this song. And in 9 songs out of 10, the first chord is also going to be the key that the song's in. So if we know what key we're in, it's quite easy to work out the other chords. I mean, this is what an F sharp minor scale looks like. If the first chord is F sharp minor, and we're in the key of F sharp minor, then the next chord is only going to be one of these 7. F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp. I said F sharp twice, but you get the point. The reason why working out the keys is so important is now we know what it can't be. It's just going to be guaranteed one of those. Let's have a listen. There. So let it come round again. Okay, so this... Oh. That's very eager. So in this song, we have a 1, 6, 3, 7 progression. Okay, does that make sense? First chord, 6th chord. What did I say afterwards? 3rd chord, 7th chord. So that gives us F sharp minor. That sounds like a D major to me. That sounds like an A major. And then here, we've got E major as well. So there's only one minor chord at the start, and that's the F sharp. To be completely honest, this is a much harder topic than anything else I've covered on this channel. Ear training takes time, it takes energy, and honestly the best way to learn it is to actively listen to your songs. So whenever you've got a song playing on in the background and you're playing your instrument, try play the chords, try match. It takes time, it takes practice, and I don't think that you need to have perfect pitch in order to be able to do this. Millions of musicians around the world don't have perfect pitch and excel at pitch matching. And if you can pitch match, you can work out any song on bass. If you have any questions, then let me know. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.